Y'all, I have been working today. I can't believe it's already 7 o'clock. Welcome to Illuminations, and I look crazy right now. It's been a long day. I've been up since like 6:45, which is kind of late for me anyway, but it's been a long day, and I did not realize it was almost 7. It was like 6:40, and I was like, oh my God, it's Thursday, and it's almost Illuminations. Let me get my mind together. For most of y'all who know me, you know I do international development. So this week, which feels like a decade, has been very intense and a lot of stress, and I am taking much needed time away from the office starting tomorrow. Most of the time when I'm taking time off, it's because I have medical appointments or medical procedures or something needs to happen medically with me. And so I'm like, okay, let me take some time off. Let me take a couple hours off, or let me take the day off to take care of the slew of appointments I have. But granted, yes, tomorrow I'm doing medical appointments. But next week, I'm dedicating to sacred rest. I'm dedicating to reconnecting with self, but also reconnecting with others that I love. I'm enjoying my daughter, who is my fascist. But just taking time and ensuring that I'm doing sacred rest. So a part of Illuminations today is going to be me talking about what it means to take sacred rest and how that's okay. I know a lot of people are like, hustle, bustle, do what you got to do. But also like sit your butt down and rest, because when you don't rest, your body will put you down. So I'll get to that. So a part of Illumination is going to be the importance of sacred rest. And the other part is going to be a conversation I just actually had a few hours ago with a good friend of mine. After I came to the realization that I was like, oh God, I done lost a whole rack of friends. And I don't even know what that looks like or what that feels like at this point. And what does that mean? And the importance of knowing your worth and knowing your light and what you give and what you do, and how you need not beg people to be in your life. So that's the second part of Illuminations. So let's get to the first part real quick, which is sacred rest. We kind of idolize and praise those people who are like constantly moving, constantly going, busy bees, which I used to be a former busy bee, and now not so much, because I've learned that there is beauty and importance and need in sacred rest. It's important to find that I don't always have to run. I don't always have to do. I don't always have to produce. Like I talked to you last week, which was don't equate your work to your productivity. Take time to be. Pace yourself. Be present. But also sit down and take sacred rest as needed. And coming from me, I can tell you a thing or two, because I used to be a busy bee, in part because I like to be productive, in part because my work was equated to my productivity, but also in part because when you're constantly moving, you don't have time to slow down and think. You don't have time to slow down and feel. And so a part of what I was doing in the past was constantly moving so I wouldn't stop, because I felt like if I stopped even just a bit, I would start ruminating. And as we know, there's a difference between rumination and there's a difference between contemplation. And so I was worried in the past that I would start getting into a space where I would ruminate, or possibly get into a dark space that would turn into an abyss. And so I was like, let me just keep moving. Let me always just move. I have to move. I have to do. But when we find confidence and love and assurity and acceptance and validation in self, when we realize that sometimes the darkness is not bad. And I say a lot of times, don't equate evil or wrong to darkness, because the earth is dark. You plant seed, it yields life. The womb is dark. You plant seed, it yields light and life. And so darkness is not always a bad thing. And sometimes when we're talking about like shadow work and being in the dark, it's important to take the time to be in that space, to kind of come to the realization or the epiphany or the revelation of different perspectives or mindsets or attitudes or behaviors that we've had in the past that didn't serve us well. And so when we're talking about moving too fast because we want to avoid thought, or moving too fast because we want to avoid darkness. Shadow work is necessary and needed. And it's a buzzword, but when you really get to the root of what that means and the effort and energy it takes to do that shadow work, to identify the issues, to address those issues so that you can be a better person, so you can be a better being, so you can support yourself better. You understand that it's not something that needs to be avoided. It's going to be something that we address with intentionality, with the support needed around us. So, sacred rest. Sacred rest, because sometimes we equate challenges or insecurities we have within self and then bring it to work. So, I can't take this day off, or I can't take this time off because I have a deadline and I have to meet this deadline, because if I don't, then I'm failing my team, or I'm failing my own standards of well-being or workforce. And I actually used to be that way. So me personally, I used to be like, I need to do this, work with a spirit of excellence, work with a spirit of excellence, work with a spirit of excellence, which I still believe in, but like in proper measurements, make it make sense. It's something I tell myself often. It's something I tell others I love. Make it make sense. So you don't always have to be keeping going and having to do this. And I got this deadline. I got this to take care of. Sit your iron pots down and just rest. Work smarter, not harder. Come on now. And so I had to tell myself, and even at times where I was struggling with, but what does that mean for me to like even take a day off? Or what does it mean for me to take a break? I got sat down. And most of you all know, like I got sat down in 2020. Like I got sat down hard. I was a busy bee. I actually got an award from my agency of being a busy bee, which meant I was doing things constantly, taking care of things constantly, getting things squared away constantly. And then one day I was taking my puppy, which I consider a baby horse, to his obedience school training. And I had a whole medical incident. And I literally was paralyzed. So I couldn't walk. I couldn't do. And I was paralyzed on my right side, which is I'm right-handed. So I wasn't writing anything. And I was in the MICU and then the rehabilitation center, trying to learn how to do everything I used to do again. And so sometimes when we're not honoring our body because we're trying to stay busy, we're trying to hustle, we're trying to get this done, we're trying to make sure that we're not slacking or procrastinating, sometimes our body sits our hind parts down. And when I say my body was like, no, baby girl, you're not going to get sat down, I'm going to lay you out. My body laid me out because I was not honoring my body. I was not listening to myself. I wasn't taking time or breaks in work. I wasn't taking days off from work like that. I was constantly going, constantly moving. And I had to learn the beauty of sacred rest. So I tell people when I'm counseling, when I'm advising them, when I'm just talking with them, listen to your body, honor your being, honor yourself. Take sacred rest as needed. I know some people who will take a couple of days off of work a month for mental health purposes, to replenish their energies, to rejuvenate themselves. Do that. Just like we take off time for doctor's appointments or dentist appointments, take time just to recalibrate, just to realign, to recenter, reground yourself, because it's important. And as you are honoring yourself and pouring back into yourself and giving to self, you are strengthening. And you're enhancing, and you're learning, and you're doing better. And then you can do even more once you honor yourself. So I've learned truly the beauty of sacred rest and what that means, to sit in who I am and sit in my knowing and acceptance and love of self. That way, I'm not going to work trying to get my acceptance or validation of my work ethic. That way, I'm not going out to my friendships or even like partnerships and going overboard, Titanic with it. Because I'm comfortable with self. I accept self. I know my worth. I know what I bring to the table work-wise. I know my work ethic. And so when we have that knowing and that understanding, it helps us to put things in better perspective and how we move and go about how we do our business. So that's sacred rest. Please, 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 please honor yourself. Make sure you're taking your sacred rest. When you do not, your body will lay you out or sit you down as necessary in order to have that happen. Now, the next part, I was talking to a good girlfriend of mine, and I was like, oh my God, I came to the realization, I don't got no friends no more. And she was like, girl, me? Hey, hello, hey, me? And she's like, but where is this coming from? Like, what do you mean? And I say, after